All right, guys, let's talk about adjectives. Here we've got our exercises from lesson 10 in Futato. Looks like everything but D and E. So, moving over here to exercise A, you're basically told these are going to be attributive. And the way that you know that they're attributive is that the definiteness of the noun matches the definiteness of the adjective. For the most part, a noun that lacks the article will have an adjective that lacks the article, or a noun that has the article will have an adjective that has the article. When the definiteness of the noun and the adjective match, it's generally attributive. I mentioned this last time, another little shortcut, it's not always reliable, but in general, when the adjective comes after its noun, when it comes after, it's attributive. Okay? So if you happen to notice the adjective is after the noun, that's a good indication that it's probably attributive. Again, the definiteness match, that's much more reliable, but it's a nice shortcut. All right, so as you look through these, you'll notice that the definiteness matches in all of them. Both are indefinite, both are indefinite, both are indefinite. I'm trying to go through here to find out if there's one that looks indefinite but is actually definite. Number 4 here, nefashot, this is the plural of nefesh. Kayot, so this would be living souls or living beings. Number 5 here, they're both definite. Haderech hayashar, the straight way or the straight path. Number 6, both definite. Ha-milchamot, ha-rabot, the great battles or the many battles maybe would be better. Great is more for Gedolah, or Gadol here. Haaretz ha-tahorah, these are both definite. So this would be the pure land. Aim chachama. This is a hard one to say because you've got the chet and the soft kaf. Chachama. But this is from chacham, which means wise, so a wise mother. Next we've got ha-kohenim, the priests. Ha-kedoshim, the holy ones. That would be the holy priests. Lev tahor, a pure heart. He'arim ha-tovot. This would be the cities, the good ones. Now this looks like we have a mismatch here because we've got he'arim ha-tovot, the hirik yod mem suffix with the holam vav tav suffix. But arim is sort of like the opposite of av. So ir looks masculine, but is actually feminine, even though the plural is orim. Well, in for father in the singular looks masculine, but when you put it in the plural, avot, it looks feminine, but it's still a masculine noun. So father is still going to take, I should say fathers, if you're giving an adjective. If you wanted to say the good fathers, you would say ha-avot, ha-tovim. All right, so just because it looks like you have a mismatch in gender and number, sometimes these endings on nouns can trick you. The endings on adjectives will always be true. So a feminine plural adjective will always end in holam vav tav. A masculine plural adjective will always end in hirik yod mem. But that's not always the case for nouns. All right, B, we're told that these are going to be predicative adjectives. And the difference here is that the definiteness is going to conflict between the two. They do not match in definiteness. They don't agree. So what that means is ha ha mizbeach, the altar, that has the article. This is definite, but tameh does not have the article. We have a mismatch here. That indicates that we have a predicative relationship. And that predicative relationship, instead of an impure altar, or the impure altar, we would translate this as the altar is impure. And just like we have the shortcut with the attributive adjectives, where if the adjective comes after the noun, it's attributive often. In the predicative, if the adjective precedes its noun, it's often predicative. Now again, this isn't always reliable, but it's a nice shortcut. You always want to double check this by checking the definiteness. Now, talking about the definiteness is a little imprecise, it's a little inaccurate to talk about the definiteness of the adjective. What we really mean is when there's agreement, let's say it this way. In an attributive construction, the adjective will have a definite article for a definite noun, and it will lack the article for an indefinite noun. That's what we mean. In the predicative construction, almost always the adjective is going to lack the article. There may be a couple exceptions that I've seen before, maybe where you might have a definite article on a predicative adjective, but I couldn't tell you what they are. I think mainly because there's exceptions to every rule. I think I remember there being some exceptions to this rule. But in general, a predicative adjective is going to lack the article. So there may be some predicate constructions where both the adjective and the noun are indefinite, or the noun is indefinite and the adjective lacks the article. But those are rare, rarer, I should say, than what you have here. Usually when you've got a predicative relationship, you've got an adjective that lacks the article with a noun that is definite. So here, hamizbeach tameh would be the impure altar. Or I'm sorry, the altar is impure. Number 2, chachama habat, the daughter is wise. Number 3, rabot hanashim, the women are many. Number 4, kedoshim ha-zevachim, the sacrifices are holy, and so on and so forth. You've got the rest of these answers in your in the back of your book, so I'm not going to go through every one of them. But that's the idea here. When you've got a predicative adjective, generally the adjective will precede its noun. It will also lack the article, and usually the noun itself will have an article. You've got, like here would be an example of an exception to this. Hane'arim rasha'im. Here, you do have the disagreement in definiteness, so you've got a definite noun, hane'arim, the boys or the young men or the servants. You know this is definite because of the definite article. And then your adjective lacks the article. So you do have that disagreement in definiteness that would indicate a predicative relationship. But like I said, this isn't always reliable to look at word order. Here, the adjective does not precede its noun. It's after. And so this would violate the adjective after a noun is attributive idea. All right, so that's B. Let's look at C here. Here you're going to have to decide whether something is predicative or attributive, and the way that you're going to decide that is whether or not the adjective has an article when the noun is either definite or indefinite. So number 1, the noun is definite as indicated by the article, and the adjective has the article. So here they match. The article of the adjective matches the definiteness of the noun. So that's attributive. Comets hey on the adjective, indicates reliably feminine singular. Number 2, Yashar ha-adam. Here, Yashar lacks the article, and ha-adam is definite. So this would be predicative. We can see that this also happens to follow the rule of a predicative adjective precedes its noun. This one is going to be masculine singular because, and again, the adjective is where you see the truth. The noun may trick you, but the adjective will always be true. There is no comets hey, hirik yod mem, or holam vav tav. So we've got a masculine singular adjective here. Ham is beach ha tahor, the pure altar. Here, these agree in definiteness, so they are attributive, and this is masculine singular. Habat ha tova, the daughter, the good one. So this would be the good daughter. And that is going to be attributive, feminine singular. Tmeim ha elim, the impure gods. Sorry, the gods are impure. The adjective lacks the article while the noun is definite, and that indicates a predicative relationship. Ha-Elohim ha-Kaim, the living God or the living gods. Now, we've got a hirik yod mem here, so this truly is masculine plural, but Elohim is masculine plural as well, even when we translate it as God singular. I don't want you to think that because Kaim is masculine plural, we have to translate Elohim as plural. The adjective is true, this is masculine plural, but often the masculine plural form of Elohim is used to refer to the single God of Israel. So that is going to be attributive, and this is masculine plural. Gedolim ha begadim. This is going to be, you can just translate it through literally if you want. Great are the garments, or large or big are the garments, the clothing. So this is going to be predicative, masculine plural. Resha'ah ha malkut. Resha'ah, wicked, is the kingdom. The kingdom is wicked. This is predicative, and it's going to be feminine singular. Malkut doesn't end with comets hey, but Rasha does. So you know this is feminine singular. Lev chacham. Lev chacham is going to be a wise heart. Number 10, ha aratzot. So ha aratzot. Aratzot is the sort of funny-looking plural form of eretz. Ha aratzot, the lands, the many ones. So the many lands. All right. So that's going to be attributive and feminine plural. All right, so we skip D and E. Let's look at F. And since we have so few, we'll just go ahead and translate through all of these here. Again, when it comes to Hebrew sentences, I'm going to expect the first word to be my main verb. Halahu, I can see here the root halach. I see a shuric suffix. That tells me this is Cal Perfect 3CP. They went. Now, when I have a third person verb, I will often have an explicit subject. And I will often expect that explicit subject to be in the second position in the sentence. So the verb is often first position. The subject is often second position. In second position, the second word that I have is ha'ish, the man. Now, the man itself can't be my subject because the man is singular. It's just one man. And my verb is plural, halahu, they. There has to be agreement between my subject and my verb. But what I see if I look a little bit farther is I actually have a compound subject. My subject is ha'ish ha'isha, the man and the woman. They went or walked. So this would be the man and the woman walked al haderek, upon the road or upon the path. Number 2, again, I'm going to expect, I may not always be right, it's not always going to be the case, but I'm going to expect the first word to be my verb. And sure enough, I get shalach. This is my lexical form, 3MS Cal Perfect, so it's pretty straightforward. He sent. Again, I'm in third person, so it's very possible that I have an explicit subject here. Who sent? Second position is where I expect my subject to be. Hamelech, the king, sent. After Hamelech, I get Ha-Gadol. Melech is masculine singular, Gadol is masculine singular, and both have a definite article. So this is likely an attributive construction. The good king sent. What did the good king send? My definite direct object marker tells me that the good king sent the prophet, the Holy One. So the great king sent the holy prophet. Where did he send the holy prophet? El ha'ir ha-risha'ah, to or into the city, the wicked one or the guilty one. The great king sent the holy prophet to the wicked city. Number 3, we have Natan. Again, this is my lexical form, 3MS Cal Perfect. Natan means he sent. Again, third person. I'm going to look for an explicit subject. That's usually in my second position, Ha-Kohain. Does Ha-Kohain match Natan? Both are third person, both are masculine, both are singular. The priest sent. What did he send? Et ha-zevachim. Et indicates my direct object. This is what was sent. Ha-zevachim is the masculine plural form definite of zevach, which is sacrifice. The priest sent the sacrifices. Ha-zevachim ha-tehorim. Sent the sacrifices, the pure ones. The priest sent the pure sacrifices. Lifnei, gave, Natan. Sent was up here with shalach. The priest gave or placed even, set. Natan has a wide range of meanings. The priest set the pure sacrifices, lifnei, before or in the presence of, ha-mizbeach, the altar. Number 4, we've got chacham v'chadosh. Chacham v'kadosh, so wise and holy. Note that both of these adjectives lack the article. And then we've got atah. Atah is a pronoun, personal pronoun for you, masculine singular. Well, chacham and kadosh are both masculine singular as well. And atah, even though it lacks the article, is still definite because a personal pronoun is definite. So this would be, wise and holy are you, as God or like God, or as the gods or like the gods. In English, we'd switch that word order around and we would say, you are wise and holy like God or like the gods. Number 5, again, first position. Now let's talk about that. Number 4, in first position, we didn't have our verb. That's because this is a verbless clause. There is no verb here. We do have our predicate in first position, our compound predicate, and the main verb is the anchor of the predicate, so word order still fits. Our predicate is still in first position, and our subject is in second position. Now, you may say, wait, isn't this third position since it's the third word? Well, when we talk about positions, we're really talking about um, function slots. And since Hacham and Kadosh serve the same function, they both serve the function of predicate, they take up first position, and then the next position would be second. So you is still in the second position here. But again, number 5, we look at first position and we see what we expect to be a verb. Sure enough, yeshav. This is yashava, which is the third feminine singular, cow perfect form of yeshav. Yeshav is he dwelt or he sat. Excuse me. So the 3FS form would be she dwelt or she sat. Or, since Hebrew doesn't have a third gender for non-personal items, it could also be it sat or it dwelt. Because if we have a subject that's impersonal, in English we're not going to translate that with a she or a he. So here we've got our verb, our predicate. Here we've got our subject, hamishpacha. Mishpacha is the family. The family dwelt. And here I say dwelt because the context is ba'ir, in the city. They probably didn't sit in the city, though that is a possible translation. The family dwelt in the city. We know this is the city rather than a city because we've got the kametz under the bait. If this was a city, we would have a shavah. But since it's the city, we have the patach of the definite article. And we would have the dagesh forte of the definite article, but ayin cannot take a dagesh forte. So it rejects it, and to compensate for the loss of the dagesh forte, the patach lengthens to a kametz. Right? So we have yashava, ha-mishpacha, the family dwelt in the city, ba'ir ha-gedolah. Okay, we've got an adjective here. So we have to figure out, what is this adjective modifying? Is it modifying city? Is it modifying uvavayit? That's probably not the case because we've got hagadol after uvavayit. So is it possible that hagadollah is modifying ba'ir? Well, if it's modifying ba'ir, it has to match ba'ir's gender and number. Hagadollah is feminine singular. Ir certainly looks singular, but it doesn't look feminine. But remember, that's a trick. Ir and arim both look masculine, but they are actually feminine words. And what that essentially means is they're going to take a feminine adjective. So here, the family dwelt in the city, the great one, or in the great city, and in the house, the great one. Maybe the large one. So the family dwelt in the large city and in the large house. Number 6, again, first position, we expect to find our main verb. Sure enough, we have lakach. Lakachta is the 2ms form of lakach in the cow perfect. So lakachta is going to be you caught, or you took, or you seized, or you captured. Now in second person, it's much less frequent that you have an explicit subject, because in the second person, that subject inevitably ends up being either ata for you masculine singular, or ot for you feminine singular. So you don't really get a more explicit subject unless it's a pronoun. So we're not going to look for a subject in second position because there's probably not one. This might look close to ot, aleph tav, but this is an ot, you, feminine singular. This is et, the definite direct object marker. So we've got lakachta, you caught or you took what? Et habain. You took the son the et habat, and the daughter. You took the son and the daughter, min, from ha milchama, from the family. Or I'm sorry, milchama is battle. You took the son and the daughter from the battle. Number 7, again, we expect to find our verb in first position. Tov is not a verb, but it can be a predicate adjective. And sure enough, it lacks the definite article. So when it's in first position, that's a good indication that you're dealing with a predicative construction between an adjective and a noun. So how would we translate through here? Good, a heart, a clean, from a heart, and impure. All right, so this is a lot of words that don't make a lot of sense just translating through them. Like I said, tov is in the predicate position. So let's translate tov as a predicate adjective. Good is a heart, a pure one. So a pure heart is good, from a heart, an impure one. So a pure heart is good from an impure heart. Now remember, when we have adjective, adjective, noun, min, noun, this from another noun idea here, this is how Hebrew sets up its comparative construction with adjectives. Comparative is the, if you have fast, comparative would be faster. If you have heavy, comparative would be heavier. If you have good, comparative would be better. So better is a pure heart than, not from, than an impure heart. A pure heart is better than a dirty heart or something like that. A clean heart is better than an impure heart. I don't particularly like translating tahor and tameh as opposites of each other because they're totally different roots. So I might say something like a clean heart is better than an impure heart. And then finally, number 8 here, we've got shamanu. Again, we've got our main verb in first position. This is from shema, he heard. Shamanu is going to be we heard, 1 CP in Cal Perfect. We heard devarim. We heard words. So, immediately you have to ask yourself, is it possible that devarim is the subject since it's in second position? It's not possible because devarim would require a third person verb. And here we have first person. So if devarim is not the subject, it must be the direct object. We heard words, righteous ones. We heard words, righteous ones, from a father. We heard righteous words from a father. Now you might say, wait, min, why isn't this comparative? Because we don't have the noun, adjective, min, adjective in a relationship that makes sense. Words are not more right or righteous than a father. We heard words more righteous than a father doesn't make sense here. So even though technically the construction would work, you've got noun, adjective, min, adjective, it doesn't actually work in terms of, and now that I think about it, Yeah, okay. I was trying to figure out if this was definite or indefinite. I know it's indefinite here, but this sere was throwing me off thinking that it was an indication of definiteness. But the sere is simply here because the noon couldn't assimilate, so the noon gets dropped, and the heric lengthens to a sere. So what I was saying is, even though the construction noun, adjective, min, noun exists here, noun, adjective, min, noun, we don't have a proper collocation. The words that are together don't work as a comparison. So comparing the righteousness of words to the righteousness of a father doesn't really make any sense. We heard words more righteous than a father it just doesn't make sense. That's why we go with we heard righteous words from a father. All right, and then finally, we'll look at one of these translations here. Let's just go ahead and go with, let's do Exodus 18:17. Open my Hebrew text. All right. So I bring it into its full context, even though there's stuff you're not going to recognize here. I want you to see in its full context. This gives you an opportunity to kind of pre-learn some things. So we start off, again, in a Hebrew sentence, we kind of expect the main verb to be in first position. Sure enough, that's what we have here. I know this looks strange. You haven't seen this type of verb before. But what we've got here is amar, aleph mem resh. This is the verb for to say. So amar would be he said. This is actually, we've been learning the perfect conjugation, which emphasizes actions as completed in their aspect. And so usually we translate it as past tense. This is actually in the imperfect conjugation. The perfect conjugation usually has suffixes. So it's sometimes referred to as the suffix conjugation. It'd be amar, amra, amarta, amart, amarti, that sort of thing where we've got the suffixes. The imperfect conjugation is known as the prefix conjugation. So we get prefixes on the root in the imperfect. And so this particular form would be imperfect, except you may notice this almost looks like a definite article on yomer, except it's got a vav instead of a hey. When you have this pattern, vav, patak, dagesh, this is what we call a vayiktol form. And vayiktol is basically the standard formulation, the standard construction for relaying narrative, past tense narrative. It uses the vayiktol prefix here, so vav, patak, dagesh, and then it puts it on what looks like an imperfect verb, but you'll find out that actually there are three verb forms that often look identical. The imperfect, which describes ongoing action or future action, uncompleted action. Then there's the jussive. Jussive communicates what you want with respect to a third party. So instead of saying instead of saying hand me the salt shaker, it may be something like let the shortest among us hand me the salt shaker or something. Instead of a direct request, it's more of an indirect request. It's stated to a third party rather than stated directly to someone. All right, that's way more detail than you need to know right now about the jussive, but the jussive often looks identical to the imperfect, but it functions differently. That's the point I want you to get. Well, there's a third form called the preterite. The preterite often looks identical to the jussive. In fact, I think it always looks identical to the jussive. But the preterite doesn't express desire toward or regarding a third party. The preterite is used in narrative for simple past tense action. So the preterite is actually used more often than the perfect in past tense narrative, but time-wise, they both communicate past tense. All right. So what we've got here is Vayomer, which basically means "and he said." Chotain. Chotain here. This is a. Oops. Hang on. I either just crashed my Logos or. Yep. That's unfortunate. One moment. All right, here we go. So chotain here, this is related to a verb, but this is a participle form. As a participle, this basically means father-in-law, someone who is a father-in-law of Moses, Moshe. Moshe is the word for Moses. So this is Moses' father-in-law said, El Av, to him, Lo Tov, not good, the word or the message which you have done. Okay, here davar, actually, word or message probably isn't a good translation. When you have davar with a sa, this is probably better the matter or the thing or something like that. So not good is the thing that you are doing, actually. This is another participle. So there's a whole bunch here that you haven't learned yet. The excerpt from Futato is basically Lo Tov Ha Davar. And what you see here is Tov is the adjective preceding its noun without an article when the noun is definite. That's the recipe for a predicative construction. So this basically means the matter which you are doing is not good. All right. So we'll go ahead and cut it off there. I've got another conference about to begin. If you have any questions or anything, send them to me, let me know. Do not forget to plan for your online Connect assignment. We're over the hump. We're more than halfway through. You do not want to be trying to scramble to get this together last minute when you're trying to study for finals. So I highly recommend the easiest way for you to fulfill this requirement is to have I'm almost certain that we're still allowing this. I guess I probably need to check with the online office. But we highly recommend that you do the Field Mentor interview option. It's the easiest way to get credit for this. Basically, you find someone, there's a Field Mentor qualification form that you can get from, let me show you how to get to the website. If you just go to mbts.edu/onlineconnect, you come here, and this option number 1, Field Mentor Personnel Qualification Form, you download this thing, you basically schedule an interview with your field mentor, 30 minutes or so. These are the qualifications they have to meet. So they have to be able to check off at least one of these things. Not all of them, but at least one. If they have no college degree, then 10 years of ministry, significant ministry experience will be enough. But if they have a college degree, then 5 years of ministry experience is enough. If they have a master's degree that's not in, pastoral or theological studies, then they need to have 3 years of ministry. If they have a master's degree from a theological school, then they only need 1 year of ministry experience. Or if they have a ministry or theology doctorate or a PhD in, biblical studies or something like that, then that works too. They don't need any ministry experience. You guys are all online students, so I'm sure you've run into this before. The only thing I want to say is this is by far the easiest and most effective way to accomplish what the Online Connect is supposed to be. Even though you're doing online education, we want you to have the opportunity to connect with pastors. So just because we can't be face-to-face, the instructors and the students, we want you to have someone that you can talk to about ministry. So the basic way that this goes is you get a little bit of an introduction from your mentor, where they're coming from, what's their experience, ask about their faith and denominational background, how their faith guides their work, and then you do need to include this. You need to have a discussion about this course. So if you look at the objectives in our syllabus, maybe it's going to be hard to see how those objectives are relevant to their profession, unless they're using the Hebrew to study for their sermon every week or something like that. But you need to have some conversation about Hebrew. Maybe they didn't take Hebrew. Well, maybe that's not a great field mentor for this class. Maybe that's a good field mentor for another class. But even in that case, they can talk about how knowing Hebrew might help them, or whether they wish they had taken Hebrew. Or maybe they didn't take Hebrew and they have no regrets. They're glad they didn't take it. Maybe talk to them about why they're glad they didn't take Hebrew. Who knows? But then I would record that, and then you just write up a transcript of the discussion. Okay? So this is the easiest way to get credit for this. If you do the conference, this is going to be hard to do because online viewing doesn't count. And I don't know that Midwestern is doing any conferences right now. Yeah, there are no upcoming events at this time. So this one's probably out. If you cannot do the field mentor option, you can do a book review. Okay? You need to have the book that you're reviewing okayed by me. If it's not listed in the syllabus, I think our syllabus has book recommendations. Let me check that real quick. I'm not sure if this one was updated or not. Yeah, this one was not updated to include those options. So check with me if you're going to do a book review, because I need to approve that. And it's basically, it's probably going to need to be a book related to Hebrew in some way. Again, these book reviews are graded like an assignment. These aren't just like a summary of the book. See the Midwestern Style Manual on how to do a good book review, a critical book review, because that's how you're going to be graded. So I highly encourage you to do the mentor option here, but that is up to you. Maybe not everybody can do that. But start planning now, because you don't want this breathing down your neck when we're coming up to the end of the semester. Go ahead and shut it down there. Like I said, if you need anything, let me know. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks.